Guys not making a move anymore is so frustrating because the amount of times that I've heard so-and-so has liked you before, like at this time. I didn't know if you felt the same way, so he never said anything to you. I've been getting that a lot recently, and I can't stop thinking, what if, bro? So guys, can you make a move again? Can we stop being afraid and just make a gesture? I'm never gonna make a move.
Okay, so you know how people talk about pretty privilege? Well, sometimes I feel like I almost have like an ugly privilege because I am on no men's radar. There are no men approaching me in public or sliding into my DMs. They leave me alone. It's like I'm invisible to them. It's great. I don't have to put up with any of the nonsense that much more attractive women are putting up with all the time. And it almost feels like a luxury that they don't have. So, yeah, ugly privilege.
They taught you to wait, to be chosen, to believe that love arrives when you do everything right. But no one told you the emotional cost of that. Today, we're talking about the truth that sets you free. The more you build yourself, the less you beg, and the more naturally love shows up.
This is what I'm doing in 2025 to meet my husband. Never in my wildest dreams did I imagine I would be 33 and still single. Ladies, we are going to do something about this instead of sitting at home. If you are also ready to meet your husband in 2025, this is what we're gonna do. Take notes. Brainstorm your hobbies, your values, your interests. What are the rooms that you have to intentionally put yourself inside that your potential future husband might be in? Is it a hotel lobby? Is it a bar at a restaurant? Is it church? Is it volunteering? Is it pickleball? Once a week, you are going to commit putting yourself in that room. Ladies, if we keep staying at home, our husband is never going to find us. This is your sign to commit to intentionally going out in 2025, putting yourself out there so that your husband can find you. All I want for you is to meet your soulmate and perhaps be engaged by the end of 2025. Hey.
Her message comes from a very understandable place, the desire to love and build something meaningful. But it slips when relationships are turned into a project with deadlines, goals, and almost corporate strategies. Love doesn't work like a sales funnel where you just put yourself in the right rooms and results magically appear. That mindset creates anxiety, comparison, and a deep sense of personal failure when the plan doesn't work. In this framework, singleness becomes a problem to fix when it should actually be a fertile season for self-discovery, expansion, and personal joy. Growth doesn't mean staying home waiting, but it also doesn't mean moving through the world with the energy of, I'm incomplete until someone finds me. When a woman lives her values and interests for herself, not as bait, she naturally becomes more grounded, confident, and selective. Healthy relationships aren't born from urgency, but from alignment between who you are and what you build daily. The real invitation here shouldn't be, go be found, but go live fully. Meeting someone is the consequence, not the mission.
So I've just been eating out by myself and I saw this really cute guy and I thought I'm going to really kick myself when I left the cafe to not ask him for his number. And he was with his mate and there was a group of girls that were sat near them and they weren't all together, like I knew that they had nothing to do with them. But I just felt like awkward asking and people hearing. But anyway, I went back in. I thought, I'm just going to do it. It only takes 5 seconds. So I said, like, hi, are you single? And he said, nervously, yeah, I am. And I said, I just wondered, like, if you are, like if I'm your type, then we could, like, exchange numbers or something. And he said, yeah, we can do that. He said, as you came up to me, yeah, definitely. I think he was just surprised that a girl had come up to him, because I think in this generation, people, like, expect guys to come up to them. But the way I look at it is, like, I don't want the risk of possibly of not having the chance to get to know somebody. If, like, I really like the look of them, then and I don't go up to them, I'm probably never going to see them again, and I'm just going to regret it. And I don't want to regret anymore. So yeah, and then I said, okay, do you want? Like I said, you don't have to give me a number if, like, if you're single. Like, I didn't want him to feel pressured to give me his number, or, like, feel bad, like, because as long as I've asked, but I would have understood if he said no. He didn't want to like pass numbers or anything, even though he's single. And he was like, yeah, we'll exchange. So I said, do you want my number or do I get your number? And he said, yeah, you can give me yours. So I gave him mine, and then it's up to him now to message me. So we will see. But I'm so proud that I did that, and I've not had any alcohol. I'm like, I've done it with no alcohol. I was very quiet because he was struggling to hear me, and plus because his friend was there, I was a bit like, ee. But yeah, so I asked somebody out with no alcohol and just, push myself out my comfort zone. So yeah, if I can do it, you can do it. And yeah, so yeah, I'm just very nervous. My heart is going crazy, and now I'm just waiting for that message from him. But I feel like he probably won't message me. He could have just deleted it off his phone. He's probably, yeah. How was your day today?
There is something incredibly powerful here: emotional courage. She stepped out of passivity, faced the fear of rejection, and allowed herself to be vulnerable. That is real growth. At the same time, the anxiety that follows shows how much validation is still tied to the outcome. The real win isn't whether he texts or not, but the fact that she honored her desire sober, authentic, and without running from discomfort. When a woman learns to act despite fear, she becomes stronger regardless of external responses. Still, it's important to notice how quickly pride in the action turns into insecurity and anticipation of rejection. That shows self-confidence is still being built, and that's okay. The key lesson is understanding that putting yourself out there shouldn't be a strategy to avoid missing chances, but a conscious choice to experience life without clinging to outcomes. Emotional growth is being able to ask, smile, walk away, and keep living lightly. If he texts, great. If he doesn't, nothing was lost. The growth already happened.
Why men don't approach women anymore. So historically, women have always waited for men to make the first move. Is he going to go in for the kiss? Is he going to hold my hand? But now, whenever I talk to my friends about their dating history, all I hear them talking about is, oh, he hasn't made a move. He's not doing anything. We're not moving forward. So on the flip side of this normally ends up in men feeling like they're getting ghosted, or that there's just being told there's no spark. And from what I'm hearing from a lot of my clients, it's not because that you're not attracted to her. It's more about fearing that you're either going to get rejected, maybe you're going to get turned down, slapped in the face when you go for that first move, or even worse, like getting in trouble with the law. So you need to ask yourself, does this sound like you? The truth is, you probably missed that golden opportunity to create that spark. And she likely was giving you signals that you just didn't quite catch.
This perspective offers an interesting take on male fear, but it misses the mark by placing the responsibility for disconnection entirely on misread signals. That keeps women in a passive role disguised as empathy. Modern relationships require clear communication from both sides. If old dating codes no longer work, insisting on them only creates more frustration. Expecting men to decode subtle signals in a confusing social climate while women continue waiting for initiative isn't empowerment. It's repeating a model that no longer serves anyone. An emotionally mature woman understands that clarity is freedom. Flirting, showing interest, starting conversations, or even expressing intention doesn't reduce femininity. It strengthens autonomy. Male fear shouldn't be treated as a permanent excuse, but as an invitation to more direct, responsible connections. When both people take emotional risks, dating stops being a guessing game and becomes about real presence. That is growth.
Men don't go after women anymore nowadays, and part of the reason is that it's just become so hard because we women have become so demanding. Not that long ago, a marriage was seen as an economical agreement, and the husband was expected to provide for his family and to protect his family. But in those days, we women were still financially dependent on men. But now that we make our own money, we don't just want a husband to be a provider or to protect us, but we want a husband who can really understand us, who can feel us emotionally, and who can help in the household, and wait a minute, who can also be a very good father to our kids. But it's not just because we're financially independent that we have these expectations. It's also that society, the way it's set up, has changed completely. We used to live in a society in which we had a whole support system around us. We would have barbecues with the neighbor on the corner every Sunday. We would drink coffees with our neighbor every morning, and we would discuss our problems. But nowadays, because we also work, we live way more isolated, and the time we have off, we spend more and more with this one person who's our husband. And what that looks like in reality is that we sit on the sofa at night and we watch TV together. We look at rom-coms in which the man goes through hell and back to win a woman's heart. So besides the fact that practically seen we expect more from our men, our brains are also fed with all these fantasies about how relationships should and could be. And men have stopped to go after women because they freak out with the thought that they have to deliver all these things that women expect nowadays.
This is one of the most grounded perspectives because it recognizes a fundamental truth. The problem isn't wanting more. It's wanting everything from one person. Modern women didn't make a mistake by expanding their standards. The mistake was placing all emotional, practical, and symbolic needs onto a partner. In the past, there was community, shared support, constant interaction. Today, romantic relationships have become the emotional center of adult life, and that's heavy for anyone. True empowerment isn't about lowering expectations, but redistributing them. A partner doesn't need to be your therapist, best friend, emotional provider, perfect parent, ideal lover, and personal fulfillment project all at once. When a woman builds a rich life with purpose, connections, and emotional self-sufficiency, a relationship stops feeling like pressure and becomes a compliment. Men don't run from strong women, they run from unrealistic expectations. Emotional growth is learning to sustain yourself before demanding support from someone else.
What happened to men pursuing girls? When was the pivotal moment that a man chose to not go after a girl anymore or put in any effort? It seems like guys can just put the bare minimum and not even really put in effort anymore. They don't really care to. Or they're like, why don't girls just go and make the first move and make the effort? When did it become a thing? Now it's like role reversal where they expect girls to be making the first moves, yearning for a guy and chasing him. That is, I feel like, the downfall of why it's so hard to meet someone, because men don't put in effort anymore or don't care to put in effort. And a relationship won't work unless the guy likes the girl just a tiny little bit more. He has to like her just the tiniest bit more for it to work in the long haul. So it would make sense if a guy really wanted to get to know you, that he would go leaps and bounds to get to know you. And when did that shift? Because back in my mom's era, if a guy wanted to take you out on a date, he had to go up to you, he had to get your number, he had to go through lengths to try to talk to you, even if you weren't interested at first. How my parents met? They met at a bar, and my dad asked for my mom to dance, and my mom was like, get out of here. She wanted nothing to do with him. If he had just left and listened to her, they would have never gotten married, they would have never had kids. But he was persistent. He wanted to take her out on a date so badly. He was like, what do I have to do to take you out on a date? She was working late their first date, so he went to her work, picked her up, prepped a dinner, took her to a park, just planned the whole thing. He wrote her poetry. He was yearning. How my aunt and my uncle met. My aunt was a dancer on a cruise ship, and he was the photographer, and he was persistent. She overheard him one night saying to his buddy, he was like, I'm gonna marry that girl. He had just met her, and now they're married and they have 2 kids together. I don't hear anything like that now. Now we're praising eye contact. Now we're praising if a guy held a door open to us and smiled. That is what we're praising. It feels so backwards. I just wonder when it shifted, because I feel like that is the whole downfall of why it's so hard to meet someone now, because men just don't care anymore.
There's a dangerous nostalgia here that romanticizes male persistence without considering context, consent, and female choice. The issue isn't that men don't care anymore, but that the old model of insistence no longer works and shouldn't work the same way today. Confusing effort with pursuit creates frustration on both sides. Healthy relationships aren't built on who likes the other a little more, but on clear reciprocity. When a woman waits to be chosen while remaining distant, she gives up her own power. Empowerment isn't waiting for grand gestures to feel desired, it's participating in the creation of connection. The difficulty of modern dating doesn't come from a lack of men willing to try, but from a lack of adult communication, explicit interest, and emotional maturity. Growth in this context means letting go of past fantasies and learning to build connections in the present with fewer games, less idealization, and more real presence.